Whether it's the 24-hour news cycle reporting on important moments as they happen, or a reality TV show broadcasting live to its viewers, live television continues to document and entertain. But while some of these moments are sad and others fun, there's a third category which is not for the faint of heart, one with a sinister life all of its own. Here are the 10 creepiest things caught on live television. Number 10 is Michael Jackson's ghost. There's no doubt that Michael Jackson was one of the most talented musicians of our generation, but there's also little doubt that he was a controversial figure, mired in accusations which caused many to eye him with distrust. Jackson lived an increasingly reclusive life in his Neverland mansion in response to these accusations, and it was in this mansion after his passing that something sinister was captured during a live broadcast on Larry King Live. As the cameras panned around the rooms of Jackson's home, a strange shadow was seen walking through a room at the end of a long corridor. The shadow even cast a reflection on the wooden floor as it walked past. Many believe this shadowy figure is Jackson himself, who is said to haunt his old home, as reclusive in death as he was in life.
You know, it was okay, but when he locked, he wanted his privacy. He had his privacy.
Number 9 is UFOs on command. In a featured piece for ABC News, a reporter was filmed interviewing a man in America who claimed that he could manifest UFOs in the sky by command. This news piece was clearly set up to mock the man's claims, who maintained that voices in his head helped him bring the UFOs into view through a connection with God. However, after picking a random location and time, the unthinkable occurred. While filming the man attempting to call the UFOs through prayer, strange objects did indeed appear in the clear blue sky above. One of these things was a bright orange sphere which moved back and forward towards the news crew. Then the UFOs disappeared from view. No one is sure what was seen that day or how the man brought them into existence, but what is certain is that it's one of the strangest news pieces ever caught on camera.
Brother, look at it, there it is.
You can barely see it, a white speck. Then another sighting.
There it is, I got it.
Photojournalist Jonathan Hawkins locks in on it. Let's take a closer look here. It's an orange sphere that appeared out of nowhere. I call the boss with an unexpected change in my story.
I can see it clear as day. In fact, it's bright.
Number 8 is In Today's Edition. Since 2009, a show called The Morning Club has aired on Albanian radio and television. Taking influence from Western shows, The Morning Club is supposed to be a relaxed, informal conversation between its hosts and guests. However, in one instance, this relaxed environment soon became filled with tension and fear. While the show's hosts were having a conversation during an ad break, the cameras caught what can only be described as poltergeist activity. A newspaper sitting on the desk between both hosts was visibly lifted up into the air and thrown off screen. No one was near the paper when it happened, and both hosts were confused and frightened by the strange phenomenon. No explanation has been given, and to this day people debate whether it was an example of psychic poltergeist activity or the physical manifestation of a ghost. Number 7 is the disappearing act. Sometimes a moment unnerves us simply because it goes against our common sense. It violates how we assume reality works on a day-to-day basis. When these moments are preserved forever by live television, they become even more uncomfortable because even under scrutiny, they still don't make sense to us. This is the case with one famous piece of footage taken during an interview in an airport in Europe. In the background, a woman with blonde hair stands waiting in the baggage area. Then, as another woman passes in front of her, she vanishes completely. No one is sure what happened to the woman. Some believe it's an optical illusion and she simply moved off camera, but others are convinced that she disappeared into thin air and that a dark phenomenon was at play. Number 6 is a haunting game. Many decades ago, if a soccer fan wanted to see a game, they had to buy a ticket. These days, almost every game imaginable is broadcast live. With so many cameras placed to capture every angle of a game, it's perhaps not surprising that in one instance, the cameras captured something far more intangible than a soccer ball being kicked into a goal. During a soccer game in Mexico, one camera was panning across the field when, to the surprise of those watching at home, an apparition appeared to float across the stadium. The figure was bathed in shadow and appears to be moving through the crowd sitting in the stands. As no one who was physically there saw the entity, some experts have suggested that this is a prime example of how camera equipment can capture evidence for the supernatural, which the human eye cannot see.
Es correcto, ningún amonestado.
Number 5 are those aliens? In February of 2018, a cluster of strange lights in the sky were captured during a live news broadcast. The channel was Fox 6 News and was broadcasting a live feed in Milwaukee. At 4:43 a.m., 10 sinister lights appeared in the distance. If those dots had been stationary, then the hosts of the show could have easily explained them as stars. However, those lights moved through the night sky in an almost organic way. They darted around each other, fading in and out of visibility as though they were phasing through reality before disappearing once and for all. The show's hosts were completely bemused by the entire event. One host asked if the lights were fireworks, while the other had no option but to suggest a more extraterrestrial origin.
Are those fireworks? What is that?
Fireworks or something.
Aliens? I don't know.
What the heck
Where
is
is that? You see it, right?
I'm actually, yes,
Okay.
I do see it.
Okay.
It's getting weirder by the second.
I know.
It's like they're sticking around.
Number 4 is the rocking chair. In 2007, during a British television show called This Morning, a woman named Debbie Merrick was being interviewed about her supernatural claims. Debbie and her husband both alleged that a doll that they had brought into their home several weeks earlier was clearly possessed by an evil spirit. As they spoke about the doll, it was positioned for the audience to see sitting on a black rocking chair. Debbie alleged that the doll's behavior included moving around unseen and even scratching Debbie's husband while he slept. The hosts of the morning show were understandably skeptical, but that skepticism was soon challenged. As Debbie spoke about the fear of being near the doll, it started to rock the rocking chair back and forward. The hosts were unnerved, and as of yet, no explanation has been given for this creepy phenomenon.
Gaynor Green says, my nana has a collection of dolls in her dining room. They're so creepy. They look as if they're just waiting to pounce. Now, you put this up for sale, right? And you put it on the web, right? And you were quite upfront because you didn't want anybody buying this unless they knew this was possessed, as you believe possessed.
I didn't list it as a haunted doll. I listed it as a creepy doll.
Number 3 is the crawler. Tsunamis are terrifying enough, but when these huge waves crash inland, they often bring with them secrets and mysteries from the deepest oceans. One piece of live footage appears to have brought one of these terrifying moments to light. During a tsunami in Japan, the footage shows the ferocious power of the sea as it destroys part of the town. While the cameraman continues to film, he unwittingly captures what appears to be a strange white creature which leaps out of the water. The creature then crawls up the side of a building before vanishing into thin air. If this is indeed a previously undiscovered animal, it appears to have the ability to blend completely into its environment. This begs the question, how many of these creatures are around us as we speak? Number 2 is the Jinn. In some cases, it's not what live television captures visually that's disturbing, but rather the sounds recorded which strike terror into the viewing public. One of the most infamous cases of this was a call-in show from 2011. Viewers were asked to phone in to ask religious guidance from the guests, one of whom was a Muslim holy man. When a woman phoned in looking for advice, the call quickly turned from an ordinary conversation into a paranormal encounter. The lady was allegedly taken over by an evil spirit known as a jinn. As the holy man attempted to converse with the spirit, the lady's voice altered and mocked the holy man with a sinister laugh. As the conflict progressed, the call was suddenly cut off. What happened to the caller to this day remains unknown.
Like one man standing with the left hand forward, left foot forward, Allah's name on the left leg. Also, also, when people, I'm sorry, I can't speak no more.
Bismillah, a magician or somebody send this jinn to block you to speak or to go to court.
Yes, we blocked.
And number 1 is the Wyoming Incident. In 2008, a strange series of messages and images interrupted a news broadcast in Wyoming. Some have since suggested that it was part of an elaborate alternative reality game, while others insist that it was the original broadcast that was real. If it was, it's one of the most disturbing moments in live television history. The scheduled broadcast was interrupted and replaced with text on-screen reading. We present a special presentation. Then, more unnerving black and white text appeared. It stated, "You will see such pretty things." It was at this point that a series of strange, disturbing faces were shown on screen.
Wyoming today, making him the first to visit in preparation for the 2008 general election. Republican President Jackson. Mitt Romney also plans on visiting Denver and Cheyenne on his presidential tour.
Warped text then threatened, "You are ill, we just want to fix you." But it was the final message which was the most chilling of all. It asked the question, "What hides in your mind?" Then answering itself with, "We have already seen it." Thank you to everyone for subscribing, and a special thank you to all of my channel members, especially the people's names you see on screen right now. All of you help keep my channel going. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.